We lived not far from here, and we had a bathing box along the beach yonder. And my sister and I used to come down here after school barefoot, um, wearing our bathers from home, and we would spend the whole summer on the beach. In the winter time, we would ride our bicycles around on the tea tree tracks above us here. Well, there are lots of them, but I suppose the most important one in my life was the fact that it was around here that I met my met a 16-year-old girl who later became my wife. Oh yes, Barbara didn't live far from here too, and yeah, I guess we spent a heck of a lot of time around here, particularly in yachts and swimming. The ladies' yacht club used to be a couple of doors to the north of the kiosk, and of course all her girlfriends were members there, and all my boyfriends were members at Sandringham Yacht Club. No, no, the two met all the time, whether they were allowed to or not. And of course, that resulted in, I guess there must be about 8 or 10 of us who married 8 or 10 of the girls from the Ladies' Yacht Club. And one thing about that, Colin, which I think is quite remarkable, every one of those marriages survived. Oh yes, because I've been a member of Sandringham Yacht Club, I suppose, now for close on 60 years, or over 60 years, and Barbara's father was a member of the yacht club too, so we spent a lot of time at the yacht club with the kids. Particularly, as it was once remarked, I recall at the Sandringham Yacht Club meeting about 8 years ago, there was reference made to that tree and sand area that's straight out from the kiosk and further to the north, and somebody said, "Oh, that's always been there." And of course, I have very fond memories as a kid bringing a pop-pop boat down here. You know about pop-pop boats? Oh, they were about 10, 12 centimetres long. They had a little little boiler in them that you filled with water, and there was a candle you put in, and they had two tubes that came out the stern, and as the water heated up and the steam developed, they would shoot the steam out the stern, and they would go pop, 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 and that's where we used to do it, out there. In the spring tide, there'd be 10, 20 centimetres of water out immediately in front of the kiosk. There was a time when at high tide and spring tides, the water would be lapping it was a wooden ramp at the front of the shed of the kiosk here, and we literally sailed a cadet jib only right onto that wooden ramp. So we used to swim off the jetty there too. I guess about the point, no, I can't identify it exactly, but there used to be what we called the first landing, and there was a good 12 feet of water there. We used to dive off the rail into there to impress the girls, and if you did it now, you'd have very nasty sand rash. It's all dry. Oh, well, it's a relic of the past. I don't recall it being called Kiefer's Shed, or at least I don't recall the Kiefers owning it, but they were a family that lived in Beaumaris and are well known around the area. I can recall it mainly when Earwicker had it. I can't think if was it Chas Earwicker? Do you recall? Anyway, it was always known as Earwicker's Shed when I was a kid.
And what did he do with it?
He used it as a hire boat container, and also private boats were kept here for 10 bob a year or something. I remember we kept a cadet dinghy here, Pegasus, which was a Brighton cadet dinghy, the 12-foot cadet dinghy, that belonged to John Pritchard, and I sailed with him for a couple of years, and he used to keep it in here. So we'd rig the boat up, carry it out, or get it on the Flying Fox. Oh, well, it must have. It certainly has for people like me who spent their young life down here, and a great many others. During the war, it was pretty popular too. Just alongside, or a couple of sheds to the north, there were a group of young tearabouts. I won't mention their names because they're all respectable citizens now, but they were not quite old enough to join up, but old enough to leave home, as it were, and they effectively lived in that shed for some time and later they joined up as a group as commandos in World War II. You're asking me to say it's the best coffee you can get in Sandringham, but I will say it because it's true. And also I meet people down here, for example, Sport McGrindle, who's a regular here. I didn't know that's who it was. Hadn't seen him for 30 or 40 years. And as you recall, I brought a photograph of him down, taken in 1939, of sitting in his boat. And in fact, only on Wednesday I came here with one of my friends with whom I go painting plein air, and John recognised Ian. Now I can't remember Ian's other name, but Ian with the border collie and the little black dog. Ian?
Oh, Ian.
Anyway, they'd been to school together. And the reason I found out that Ian and I had been in the same school too was I was telling him the story about sailing around in Tasmania in a 56-foot ketch just after the war. A friend and I from one of my Navy friends and I went down and spent 3 or 4 months sailing around the D'Entrecasteaux Channel and all the Huon ports and so on while we were waiting for university to start up. But that's the sort of thing that happens down here. You meet people like you were just interviewing Baz Minnie. I remember his brother Tiger very well. Tiger was a very good swimmer. I think Baz wasn't too bad either, but Tiger could swim from here to Brighton Beach and back and think nothing of it. He was something else in the water. I'd like it to stay exactly as it is, but I can recall going to Dunk Island many years ago when there was nothing there, and we sat around having a beer in the evening and saying, oh, we can just imagine this with a Ferris wheel over there and a big multi-unit hotel here and swimming pool there. And this was all done in ironic sense, how to spoil a beautiful place. And of course it's happened. Well now, I can envisage this being one day refurbished and they'll ruin it. It should stay like it is. Yes, that's a funny thing about Sandringham. A few of my friends, when they got married, for economic reasons I guess, they moved out of Sandringham area. They've all moved back in again. They're all back. Hampton, particularly in those days, back in the 30s, was a wonderful place to live. It was very largely an ex-service area. A lot of war service homes, as they were called then, were built in Hampton, and it was there was a very strong community centre, very strong community feeling amongst Hamptonians. Everybody sort of knew everybody else, and it was one of those communities with a particular glue holding it together. That's, of course, inevitable that will go, but it's... No, we didn't, because we used the yacht club. I sort of only recently been without a boat of some sort, but I've had 3 keel boats that I've kept at Sandringham. Incidentally, the first one had a mooring which you could now walk out to and keep your feet dry, but at that time it had about 12 feet of water under it.